right now we're going to go over what I call the 5-step fat loss formula. It's not really 5 steps, it's 5 keys that I've used through over the past 15 years to help people get super shredded. So I know for a lot of you, this new year, you're probably going to have a resolution to get in better shape, to lose some weight around the waist, maybe even get really ripped and shredded. So what I'm going to be showing you is the steps that I've used for successfully over the past 15 years to get my clients in insane shape, to also do the same thing that I use for my clients who are celebrities that go onto MTV and to do TV appearances. This is the same strategy that I use that when I'm working with my recording artists and models to get them in the best shape possible. But we're specifically talking about fat loss. So I want to show you how to lose fat as quickly as possible, and I'm going to give you the how it works from underneath all of the strategies that I'm going to share with you. Okay, so you're going to understand why it works, and then I'm going to talk to you a little bit about our end of the year special, because we have I have a program called the Vegan Tummy Tightener, and it encompasses every strategy that I'm going to be sharing with you over the next few minutes. And what Brooke and I did was we put all of our products, like every single digital product and home study product that we have, we've put it together in a single package that we're giving at a huge discount. So I'll let you know how to get that at the very end of this. So I want you to get a lot out of this, so make sure that you take notes. I'm going to post this up to our group after it's over so that you can watch this at your convenience. Okay, so let's get started. How to lose fat as quickly as possible, and how I've done it for many years. So let's talk about the nutrition side of things, and then we'll go over the exercise side of things. The nutrition side of things, it's very simple if you've already been a part of the Smoothie Shred Challenge. So the fundamentals are this. Number one, you're going to have a high water intake. So we want to get, when you're trying to shred as much body fat as possible, you want to get your water intake to, I'd say no less than 96 ounces, no matter how small or big you are, no less than 96 ounces. What I've seen work best with the majority of my clients is 1 full gallon of water every single day. Now, if you're doing smoothies, the water that's in your smoothies totally counts. Now, liquid that's in teas and juices, that does not count. So we're talking about just pure water. Now, the reason you want to make sure that you get that much water in, because I know for a lot of you, if you're not used to doing that, then you really haven't been able to see the results. It makes a huge difference. It reduces bloating. It also is responsible for almost every biological chemical reaction inside your body, including the whole cascade of steps that lead to fat loss. So this is super important. You want to have that water in there. And the other thing too is not having enough water will actually promote fat gain. Because when you work out, if you ever heard of muscle glycogen, then you have to understand, in order to create a single glycogen compound, you have to have a certain amount of water. So it takes 3 water molecules for every 1 sugar molecule to create a glycogen compound. So if you don't have enough water, what happens is that excess sugar, even if you're training hard, it can't be converted into glycogen if you don't have enough water. So if it doesn't get turned into glycogen, guess what happens? It turns into stored body fat. It goes to your adipose tissue. So that's not what we want. So increasing your water intake will help you maximize your fat loss. So we want to get a minimum 96 ounces. I'd say try to shoot for a gallon or more. Okay, that's the first key on the nutrition side. The second key is we want the food as nutrient dense as humanly possible. There is nothing that beats raw vegetables, hands down. There's just nothing that even comes close to it. No oatmeal, no processed foods, no rice, no pasta, no beans. Nothing comes close to the nutritional density of raw vegetables, not even fruit. Now, why that's super important and why it relates to fat loss is because your fat loss is dependent on the speed and the efficiency of your metabolism. So in order to raise your metabolism is the sum of all the cells in your body. In order for your cells to work at 100%, including your fat cells, and all the cells that create the hormones that tell fat to be released from your fat cells, you have to provide them with all the nutrients that they need. And the best way to get that is through raw vegetables. The other benefit that you get from those raw vegetables is raw vegetables are very low in sugar. And what happens is it's very difficult to eat more than what your body needs to sustain your basic energy needs. So as a general model that almost everybody knows is if you eat more energy than your body expends, you have a tendency your body will try to store that excess as body fat so it can use it later. Well, it's very hard to do that when you're eating nothing but vegetables. What I have found through my experience is that the cruciferous family of vegetables are just by far some of the most effective, nutrient-dense, best vegetables that you could possibly eat, with the type of fiber that they have for their effects in increasing metabolism and increasing fullness. They are just bar none the best, because the cruciferous family of vegetables, the type of fiber is very, it's hard, it's rough, it sweeps out the insides of your intestines in such an effective way, just getting rid of a lot of excess gunk that you don't want. And those vegetables, the cruciferous family, well, they come straight from the ground. So they are in direct contact with the soil. And it's the soil that you're getting your nutrients, your minerals from. See, what it comes down to when it comes to nutrition, really what we're trying to do is just, we're eating soil, but it needs to be converted into a food for us to put it in our body so that we can enjoy the taste and digest it. Well, you can't get better than a cruciferous vegetable, because it's literally right there at the ground level. So cruciferous vegetables, eat as much of those as you possibly can. That's part 2 in nutrition. Part 3, omega-3 fatty acids, specifically from chia seeds and flax seeds. Now, over the past, I did a podcast last night where I talked about my history of testing omega-3 fatty acids. The first time I learned about omega-3 fatty acids in terms of why it's so effective at helping people lose fat was I was talking to a gentleman by the name of Dr. Scott Hayes. He's one of the greatest biochemists in fitness and nutrition that's out there. I mean, this is the guy who like walks the walk. At the time when we were talking, he was like almost 60 years old, one of the most ripped and muscular people that I've ever met. And what he taught me was how powerful omega-3s are, because he said that, what you've been taught, and he's referring to me and other personal trainers, in our nutrition classes, we're taught that for the most part, fats are kind of the same thing. And if you eat too much of it, then you're going to get fat. And if you eat fat, you get fat. And what he showed me the actual raw biochemistry of it. He said, that's just not true. It's so ignorant, and it's just so irresponsible to teach it that way, because it's just absolutely not true. Omega-3 fatty acids serve as the raw materials that go into the creation of every cell in your body. So the reason you like omega-3 so much is because what they do is when they become the cell walls and the cell lining of your cells, and especially you got to think about this from in terms of your glands, the hormone creation, and your adipose tissue, and even your muscle cells. They help those cells become more fluid, more flexible. And when they can be more fluid and flexible, that means that they can do cellular docking a lot better. So that means that when you're doing exercise and you're telling your body to release hormones that tell your fat cells to release fatty acids to be converted into energy, carbon dioxide, and water, well, you want to create as many successful cellular molecular dockings as you possibly can. And if you can make your cells a good percentage out of omega-3 fatty acids, and those cells are bendable, they're flexible, they can receive as many of those signals as you possibly can, that will increase and will optimize your fat loss. When I started putting people on high doses of omega-3s, the results were unlike anything I've ever seen before. I mean, we were literally doubling the weight loss and fat loss that I was getting off of clients. I mean, when we counted up the amount of calories that some of my clients were eating, these are folks that were like in their 50s, and they were shedding 12 to 15 pounds in just 4 weeks. They were getting ripped. They were having 6-packs for the first times in their lives. They were consuming up to 1,200 calories in pure fat from omega-3s. So right there, that just shows you, if these people were losing huge amounts of weight and they were getting super shredded and fit, that there's no way that they were putting this fat on their body. They were actually utilizing them and using them to build and repair tissue in their body. It was amazing. So where you're going to get your omega-3s is from a couple handfuls of either flax seeds, whole flax seeds, or chia seeds. Not the oils, but the actual seeds themselves. And again, this might sound really familiar because this is the formula for our Smoothie Shred group when you're creating your smoothies. Okay, so we've got omega-3s, water, high amounts of all these things. So omega-3s, water, raw vegetables, and that is the fat loss formula right there. We don't have to even worry about protein, because if you're stuffing your body with all of these vegetables and omega-3s to the point of fullness every single meal multiple times a day, you're going to get enough protein that you're going to need to support fat loss. Now, if you want to build a whole lot of muscle, then you're going to obviously increase the amount of protein, increase the amount of food. We're going to add some complex carbohydrates and things like that, and that's going to do great for you. But in terms of fat loss, especially if you're using the zigzag strategy that I've taught in the past, oh my goodness, you don't even have to worry about adding excess protein on top of that. So hopefully that makes a whole lot of sense. Feel free to ask me any more questions about that. Now, let's move into the exercise component of all of this, okay? So this is important. So now you understand the basic, most fundamental component of a successful nutrition strategy for fat loss, rapid fat loss. Let's talk about the exercise, because really it's not the diet that takes the fat off. Our diet, the way I just described it to you, raises your metabolism so that you can allow exercise to help you lose more fat quickly. So the way you do exercise, number one, you have to choose exercises that burn the greatest amount of calories humanly possible. You want to burn the greatest amount of calories during your workout, and as a bonus, you want to try to get the caloric expenditure as great as possible after the workout too. We call that after burn. So how do we achieve this? Let's start with how do we maximize the amount of calories that you burn during the workout. Number one is engage the greatest amount of muscle tissue humanly possible for every rep and set that you do. So how do you do that? You've got to choose your exercises wisely. You want to choose exercises that are more full body. For example, what you don't want to do is sit down and do a bicep curl machine, because during that bicep curl machine, you are sitting down. The only muscles that are doing any work to help you burn calories is just this little section of muscle, maybe on both arms. That is it. That little bit of muscle right there burns so few calories compared to the potential of the rest of the muscles in your body that it's just completely ineffective, and it will be a waste of time for you if you're trying to lose body fat and get shredded and get ripped. It's great for building muscle if you want to build muscle in your arms. It's terrible for losing body fat. So what you want to do instead is you want to look at what's called functional exercises. And you can Google this. Now, everything we do that I'm talking about right now, all of this is in our Vegan Tummy Tightener, of course. And this is kind of why I'm doing this, because I want to show you how the Vegan Tummy Tightener works so that you can make a decision if this is something you want to buy. And I'm going to give you an incredible offer at the very end of this. Okay, so how do you do these exercises? You're going to look for functional training exercises where, let's say that we're doing a bench press. You would typically do a bench press. What a bench press means is you lay down flat on your back and then you push, and the only muscles that are engaged at this point are your chest muscles, your shoulders, and your arms. That's it. The rest of your body is just lying still. So there's not a whole lot of calorie burn happening. Now let's compare that with a push-up, where now you're suspending your body from the ground, your legs are being activated, your core muscles are being activated, all of your upper body muscles are being activated. You're probably engaging about 3 to 6 times more muscle for each repetition of a push-up versus each repetition of a flat bench press. There's a lot more muscle being engaged when you do a push-up. That is going to be an exercise that is going to help you burn a lot more calories. Same with when we do like exercises for your back and your legs. You want to be doing the exercises that use your whole body. So when you do a squat, for example, a squat with a bar on your back, where now you're utilizing your whole body, your core muscles going down and up, you're utilizing almost your entire body, all the muscles of your body, all at the same time. That is driving caloric expenditure way, way up. Versus if you were to sit on a machine that does this with your legs, you're only using your quads. The rest of your body is at rest. You're not burning many calories at all, although you're working your legs. So you're going to choose exercises that utilize as much muscle tissue as possible. So what does that look like? The kettlebell training exercises are great for that. CrossFit style workouts are amazing for that. Boot camp style workouts are great for that. Calisthenic style exercises are amazing for that. Body weight exercises are so good for that. So that's the first step, is engage as much muscle as possible to increase the amount of calorie burn that you burn per workout. Because you've got to make, if you're going to allocate 30 minutes to 60 minutes for the workout, you got to make it as productive as possible, or else you're just not going to get a lot out of it. You're not going to notice a lot of weight loss or caloric expenditure, or you're not going to lose a lot of body fat that way. Okay, now the next thing, how do you make this even more productive, is you've got to make sure that you're not wasting any seconds. So once you complete one exercise, you want to get into the next exercise as quickly as possible. There's no better way to do this than circuit training. This could be done, supersetting is a form of circuit training where it's just 2 exercises back and forth. You could also line up about 6 or 7 different exercises, just like we do in the vegan tummy tightener, where we line up 2 exercises. You do those for a little while. So you do the front of the body, the back of the body, and then go back to the front of the body, and the back of the body. So that way, while one side of your body is resting, your heart is continuing to work as hard as possible. So you're getting your heart is working hard, you're getting a cardiovascular effect, and you're training all the muscles of your body, you're forcing them to expend maximal calories for you, and it just never stops. When you use a circuit style training, where the way I set it up in the tummy tightener is you basically go hard for about 30 to 60 seconds, and then if you do take a break, the break is like 10 to 15 seconds, and then you're right back to working out as hard as possible. What most people do, and I used to observe people at the gym, is I would watch them. They would go to the gym, they would pick one exercise, they would do one set of the exercise. After it's over, they would rest. So they would maybe do about 18 to 20 seconds doing the exercise, and then they rest for about 1 to 2 minutes. And then they do another 18 to 20 seconds of that exercise, and they rest for 1 to 2 minutes. That is very inefficient, because by the end of the workout, the total amount of work that they did in an hour is probably about 6 to 12 minutes worth of total work. Very, very inefficient use of time. The way we do it with circuit training, oh my goodness, now you take that same hour, and now during that hour, you've done anywhere between 45 to 50 total minutes of work. Way more productive, up to 10 times more productive than the traditional do a set, wait and rest, do another set, wait and rest. Okay, so that's going to help you drastically increase your caloric expenditure as well. Now, number 3. So the first one is using as much muscle tissue as possible by using functional exercises. Number 2, you're going to use circuit training by increasing the amount of productivity, reducing any inefficiencies by resting. And then number 3, what you're going to do is you're going to go to failure as much as you possibly can. So when you do the tummy tightener, everything's based on time. It's not based on reps, because if I were to tell you do this many reps, it's the amount of time that you're under tension, that's when you're actually burning calories. But you could do 10 reps in 10 seconds, or you could spend 60 seconds to do 10 reps. You see why reps is not a very reliable way to help you create caloric expenditure workouts. Not good for fat loss workouts, but time is way better, because the more time that you spend under tension, the more calories you are burning. That's by law. You can't beat that. So what you're going to do is when you're spending your 45 to 60 seconds is what I recommend for each and every set. You want to do it to the point where you get to the very end of that 60 seconds or so, and you want to go to absolute failure. So for example, if you're doing push-ups, do push-ups as quickly as you possibly can until you literally gas out at the 45-second mark or the 60-second mark. Because when you get to the point where you just can't do anymore, you have taken your muscles to muscular failure. Why that's important is because when you take your muscles to muscular failure, that means you've created microtrauma, you've created damage in the muscles, which means that they have to repair and recover over the next few days. Now, why that's important is because the energy that is used to repair the muscles back is primarily coming from stored body fat, and that is afterburn, my friends. Because if you just work out in a way where you're not going to muscular failure, or you're creating little to no damage, then you're not getting the effect of afterburn. The muscles don't need to repair themselves, so they're not going to utilize any extra energy to do that. But if you can work them out to the point where they're damaged and they're sore, then the energy that it takes to repair those muscles come primarily from stored body fat. Is that cool or what? So that's why it's important to not just work out, but work out hard, work out intense. Now, this is not easy. I'm just going to tell you this right now. It's not easy. Like, theoretically, this sounds great, but when you actually do it in practice, these are some of the hardest workouts you'll ever do. Anybody who's done the vegan tummy tighter workouts, you know that to be true. It's one of some of the hardest workouts you've ever done if you're doing it right, because you're always going to failure. And every time you go to failure, well, nobody likes to feel like a failure, but it's what you want to do if you want to push your body and force it to respond and get super shredded for you and lose a whole lot of body fat. Is that cool or what? So how many did we go over there? So when it comes to working out, the strategies are, you want to maximize the amount of muscle engagement. You want to use circuit training so that you're making it as efficient and productive as possible to get maximal caloric expenditure. And then number 3, you want to go to failure so that you can maximize after burn. So far, so good, right? Okay, let's switch gears a little bit, because that's all about resistance training. Now, what's cool, if you do it the way I just showed you, is using that resistance training, you're going to get a cardiovascular effect, and that's only going to improve the strength and the efficiency of your heart, which is awesome. Now, let's say you're a cardio type of person. You want to be able to do cardio. Where cardio comes into play is when your muscles are too darn sore to do any resistance training, you can usually do cardio. So the difference between cardio and resistance training is, well, cardio, you can do that same movement or exercise, let's say running. You're doing running strides over and over and over again for thousands of repetitions, and you can keep going. Whereas if you're doing push-ups, well, you can only do so many of those, like 10, 20, 30 reps tops, and you're toast. You're done, right? What's interesting about cardio is that if you were to just go at the same level or the same state, what we call steady state cardio, like you would go on a jog or you go on a run and you go for 30 straight minutes, that just does not burn a whole lot of body fat. Compared to if you can make that cardio kind of resemble what you do in resistance training, where you go to failure, then you can increase that caloric expenditure to 3 to 9 times. And that's going to be primarily from body fat. You totally want that if you want to get shredded. So when you're doing cardio, this is super important. What I want you to do, if your goal is to lose as much body fat as possible, what I want you to do is you're going to do high intensity interval training. So what that means is you'll start off with your jog. Let's say you're going for a run. You're going on a jogging pace like you normally would do, and then you're going to just launch into an all-out sprint. Now, what's interesting about a sprint is when you're going as fast as you possibly can, you know this to be true, you can't go for more than 15 to 60 seconds until you're done, until your legs just simply can't move that fast anymore, right? You've experienced that. When you do a sprint, that is the equivalent of doing a resistance exercise. It's like the same thing as doing heavy squats. You can only do about 10 to 12 repetitions and then you're done. You've reached failure. Well, when you do sprints in interval cardio, you are literally taking your leg muscles to failure. And the only way to keep going is to lower the speed down to maybe like a reasonable jog or maybe even a walk, because it's that intense. And so what happens is you go for 15 to 60 seconds until you just can't go any longer super fast. And then you allow your jog to allow you to catch your breath and recover again. And you do that for about 30 to 45 seconds until your legs feel strong again, just the same way that you normally do when you're weightlifting. And then boom, you take off. You go as fast as you possibly can for another 15 to 45 seconds until your legs are toast again. And then now you're jogging still, but you're kind of catching your breath. And then boom, you go off into a sprint again. That is high intensity interval training. And when you do that right, you can increase the amount of fat that you burn 3 to 9 times, and you get an afterburn effect on top of that. So when you combine high intensity interval training through cardio plus high intensity interval training through resistance training, now you've got the ultimate fitness combination of fat loss. I mean, you really can't get better than that. That will take fat off your body in record time in the fastest way possible. That's why when people do the tummy tightener, we tested this. We got everybody together. We looked at all the results. The average inches off of the waist alone was 2.2 inches in 10 days. 2.2 inches. And they kept going after that.